Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and I hope you're doing fantastic. I certainly am. I'm finally much better and doing good. Yeah. So there's that, right? Well, okay. So it shouldn't take a brain surgeon to figure out that I am very interested in like I don't know, the nature of reality and science of consciousness and things like that. And I don't claim to have the answers. I don't. I absolutely do not. I am what you would consider to be a seeker. And one of the things that I have said in the past, and I believe to be true now, or will be true forever, is that once you begin a spiritual awakening, it's not a thing that is you do. It's not an event. It's not something that happens. And I realize there's a thing called, the Kundalini awakening and all that. I get that. I do. But I don't believe that that completes your spiritual awakening. That may be a very big step in it. Yes. But anyway, I do believe that once you begin a spiritual awakening, it never ends. At least not in this lifetime. Right? I believe at some point, maybe out there in the ether, we may have, came to know all there is to know. But anyway, but how I came to be on this path, okay, it's not a big secret either. I mean, I host a podcast called My Sober Addiction. Hello, I'm an addict in recovery, and I've been in recovery for many years. So all that. Oh, you hear that? That is the cat feeder. So Pee Wee is a happy boy right now because his little automatic cat feeder just went off. Yeah, so there's that. Oh, by the way, loved ones, please like this video. Hey, you got to hear Pee Wee. You got to hear Pee Wee get fed there with the automatic feeder, and he's a happy buddy. By the way, he's a cat. By the way, and so that alone is worth a like. There's that, and subscribe to the channel if you would please. I am I'm very far from perfect, but you can't accuse me of not being authentic. There is that. So, yeah. Anyway, so yes, I was a heroin addict for a while. I was a late bloomer. I didn't start till I was around 30ish. And I went hard for about 10 years and all that. Had some things happen in my life at the time that and then that kind of came along around about the same time, and it filled the void very nicely. But anyway, that just kind of, it's a good way of masking what's going on in your life. Of course, it only makes things worse. But anyway, I more talk about the addiction stuff on the podcast and on the videos, not so much. But I had a very profound experience once. I had overdosed and was found in state of not about to make it. So 911 was called, and then the person who found me actually knew how to do CPR or all that stuff. So they kind of breathed for me and kept me going. I wasn't breathing. I had no detectable heartbeat, none of that stuff. So during that time, there was breath being blown into my lungs, so therefore it kind of prolongs things. So you can't go longer than about 8 minutes without breathing, otherwise brain damage and stuff ensues. But you can't go much, much longer if that is going on for you. And nobody knows exactly how long I was out. We assume probably about 20 minutes. Okay? Well, because from the time I was found to the time the paramedic, the EMTs or whatever, till they got me going. However, after I came to, I couldn't even remember the previous 24 hours. You see, I had a relapse. I had been sober for about 16 days at that point and gave up and relapsed. That's a very dangerous time for an addict because that's when their tolerance goes way down, but they're still used to doing a certain amount, hence the overdose. Anywho, I couldn't even remember the previous 24 hours for a pretty good while. But after the memories started coming back. I started remembering, oh God, I did relapse. I did do this. I did do that. I didn't even remember buying the drugs, but I did eventually. But what I also realized is that during that time when I was gone, that time when I was out, I'm not going to say I was near death. I'm not going to say I was out of body. I don't know. I do know that I have seen a lot of things described by people who are out of body experiencers or whatever that very much jive with what I experienced. You see, I realized that while I was out, I was conscious. I was aware. I mean, my body was, I clearly wasn't, but I was. And I was in a place that was completely black, not scary, not at all. In fact, it was very, very peaceful. But it also had the potential for anything. I mean, there was the potential for excitement. There was a potential for happiness, whatever. But it was just a very, very peaceful, just stillness. And when people have asked me, well, what did it feel like? I'm like, all I can say is that I just was. And then here we come with the whole I am. It was just simple existence. It was simply I am. And so when we hear those words, as from Jesus answering when people said, "Who are you?" He said, "I am." Yes, I mean, all of those, all the religious teachings even refer to "I am," because I do know that it is the most powerful phrase that there is. But after that experience, see, I was raised a Christian and all that, and I'd gotten away from it and whatever. But anyway, as I began realizing the experience that I had and how it was profound, and it did have a massive effect on me, it caused me to want to figure out what was that I experienced. And I researched a lot of different religions. I read up on all of them, all of them. And I guess the way the Buddhists describe it, and please understand, I'm not Buddhist, but the way the Buddhists describe it as bliss was that. But I also know that I wasn't meant to go. That's why I didn't. So I've also heard it described as just the black. It's kind of just outside of time and space, outside of creation. It's kind of go over there and sit for a minute. Just go over there and sit. That kind of feeling. But it was so nice. And there was absolutely no concept of time. In fact, even the word doesn't exist there. I mean, it's like I've described it as it could have been 10 minutes. It was actually about 20-ish. But I've described it as it could have been 10 minutes. It could have been 10 million years. It didn't matter. None of that mattered. But even that's not exactly accurate, because there was no thing such as time. It just wasn't. There's no time, no space, no distance, just I am. That's all. But in that, there was the potential for anything and everything. And I do believe that is where the source, or God, whatever you want to call the creator, is what I tend to go with. But that's where that exists. And I had that aha moment. I had that, whoa, I was there. I experienced that briefly. And I understand there can be some people out there who be like, yeah, man, you were probably just dreaming, or you were probably just in your head. Okay, I can't argue with that. I don't know. All I know is what I experienced. That's what I know. And it was profound. And it changed the course of my life for the better. I mean, clearly I got the drugs are well, I mean, I can't say, without the drugs I would have never had that experience. See? So it's like I don't want to say that was a good thing, because it certainly wasn't. But yeah, see, that's the kind of the conundrum it puts me in, because I'm like, yeah, I mean, if I hadn't done that, then I wouldn't have experienced that. And if I hadn't experienced that, then I wouldn't. Well, maybe I would have been on this path in another way. Let's go with that anyway. That's more PC anyway. So we'll do that. So anyway, I had written up a thing where I was going to talk about, like the mind of God and imagination, because the last video that I did, I was talking about how I'd watched this debate with these guys, and they were debating on whether or not the God even exists. And then they got off into, well, if God doesn't exist, then who created the universe? And then another one was like, well, the universe has always existed. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that's not. Anyway, so that kind of got me to thinking, right? And I was going to do that, but I'm like, I really think that I need to do, before I go off into all of that, maybe I should put out a video that explains where I'm coming from and why I say the things that I do, and why my thought process is what it is. Does that make sense? I hope. So, and I've heard a lot of people, like, for example, Darius J. Wright. Love him, hate him, whatever you want to say about him. He's a very prolific out-of-body experiencer. He pretty much goes at will. Whether you believe him or not, I don't know. I tend to at least want to believe him, only because he explained the black place, the black, what I think you just called it that, as exactly as I experienced it before, years and years ago. So I'm like, well, he does know about that much, right? And then in Itzhak Bentov's books, he talks about the creator and how the creator is outside of space and time. He refers to the universe as like the center, where everything, there's a black hole on one side and a white hole on the other. And the white hole is where all of the universe spews out, and then it goes out and around, and it kind of like in a toroidal, and it comes back up into the black hole, and then spews out again, and that's the universe. It's constantly cycling. There is no beginning or end, but there is a ending to, I guess wherever you are. And then outside of that flow, I would guess, is the black. And that's where the creator exists. So there's that. And yeah, with the whole mind of God and all that, I do. That's something that I am very, very interested in, and how we came to be. And a lot of times I refer to that as, like an author of a book. If you have an author who comes up with these characters, writes a book, and in that author's mind, those characters are very real. If you could find a way to insert yourself into that author's mind and maybe interact with those characters that she has created. The person I have in mind is J.K. Rowling. That's why I said she. Because J.K. Rowling has created an entire world around the Harry Potter thing. And in her mind, they do exist. So, there's that. And we exist inside the mind of God. But anyway, loved ones, I just kind of wanted to, I'm like, this is totally off the cuff, by the way. It totally is. I really didn't follow any notes. But there's that. So, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And Yeah, we got Christmas coming up, so if you do that, Merry Christmas to you. If not, Happy Holidays, and if not, have a nice week. So there's that. And I do love you. I do. And I'll be back directly.